All right, so welcome to Flippin' Soul Flow. It's been a while since we've done one of these episodes. We have the new studio, and I have a good friend, Alex Pardo. Welcome.
Thank you, brother. It's awesome being here.
Yeah, bro. Thank you for driving all the way from Miami to Palm Beach.
Only for you, my man. Yeah, only for you.
I appreciate it. I'm excited because Alex and I have known each other for a few years. We're actually in Family Mastermind together. But Alex goes way back, like OG. And that's what I call you because you've been at it in real estate since what, 06?
05. End of 05 is when I got in.
05.
Yeah, man.
So we're going to get into the whole 07, 08 and the whole thing. But what's cool is he's a great representation of moving on and evolving, which we see in our space doesn't happen often. Yeah. You know, a lot of guys stay, and there's nothing wrong with it, but they really just stay in one specific space. I think it's just a natural progression of things, right? Like you should always kind of.
That's it, man. Yeah, I think the word evolve is to me the right word, right? Like we should always be striving to grow and evolve. And I think, dude, whenever I start to feel comfortable, we were just talking about cold plunging before the podcast. Yeah. I just started jiu-jitsu. Why? Because I want to get out of my comfort zone. I want to be in uncomfortable positions because to me, as cliche as it sounds, brother, like to me, that's where the growth happens. Yeah. Like you have to constantly be evolving. So yeah, you
got to get tickled sometimes.
So provide some context for the people watching. Yeah. Like provide some context.
Yeah. So context, we're not weird over here. Miami is still in the house.
Yeah, it is.
Palm Beach is a little funky, but so there's these trees behind us and it was kind of moving him and he's like, I just keep getting tickled. And I'm like, I should probably finish that sentence on camera.
Exactly right. Yeah.
So that's what we were talking about. It's
nothing weird going on in the new studio.
No. We got Trump in office. We're not weird about
it. That's right.
Anyway, so dude, let's start from the beginning. We don't have to stick there for very long. Yeah. But you get started in 05. You and I we have a very interesting dynamic because one of my mentors, Ray, was good friend. I mean, you guys were good friends you started basically around the same time.
Yeah, Ray started, I want to say about a year prior to me. Mm-hmm. So we're both from Miami. We went to FIU. We both get a job with General Electric in their financial management program. And Ray started doing real estate deals out in Connecticut. And so I was kind of watching Ray. I was always interested in real estate. So he was a few steps ahead of me. And I ended up getting inspired by Ray, and I bought a Carlton Sheets No Money Down. Dude, Carlton Sheets, old school. Yeah. So when you talk about OG, that's OG.
That was an 8-track, by the way. No,
that's right, pretty much. But I started learning about real estate, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. Like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to assume loans. Like, that's basically what they teach you in No Money Down. And I remember bouncing questions off of Ray, and Ray was helpful, and but he was already doing deals out there. And while he was working his corporate job, we both hated this job, by the way. He was bringing in $10,000, $12,000 checks. He was starting to get some cash flow. And I started to open my eyes. I'm like, well, I certainly don't want to be in corporate finance the rest of my life. Right? One of the things
So you knew that?
Dude, three months into this job, I wasn't sure what I wanted. I knew what I didn't want.
That's so let me just highlight that for a second. I always tell that to people because when you ask someone, what do you want? People are like, but when you say, what don't you want? They'll rattle off the list for you. So I think that's very interesting.
And I think it's a good way to reverse engineer. If you're not clear on what you want, ask yourself that. Like, what don't I want? And then sometimes you can back into it. Mm-hmm. And so, dude, I was crystal clear that I didn't want to work for somebody. I looked at my boss all the way up the ladder and I'm like, yeah, I don't care what their salary is and their comp package and this and that. Like, I don't want that life. Yeah. But I had made a commitment. So I finished the 2-year program. And it was really when I quit GE that I went backpacking around Europe. We were just talking about Italy and Lake Como. So we went to 23 countries and 52 cities in 3.5 months.
Wow.
Talk about on the go.
No kidding.
We were roughing it. But I was on the Eurorail and I started to immerse myself in personal development. So the classic Think and Grow Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yeah. And I had made a commitment when I come back to Miami, by the way, for context, 25 years old, moving back in with my parents. Not a good look.
Me too.
Okay, well, it might be a Miami, South Florida thing. Yeah. Maybe it's a Cuban thing.
Oh, 100%.
I don't know. So here I am, in my head, I'm like, yeah, I didn't draw it up this way. This is not good. I'm moving literally back into the bedroom that I had lived in prior to me going out to GE. So I had a lot of motivation, needless to say. Yeah. And I remember Ray invited me to a Marketing for Deals boot camp happening. This was October of 2005 in Atlanta, Georgia. And do you know Dave Lindahl?
Sounds familiar.
Apartment house guy.
Yeah.
I think he's still in the business. He was putting on a marketing for deals bootcamp, teaching people like, how do you market for real estate deals?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got home, I literally plucked out a pre-foreclosure letter, and I went to, it was Kinko's at the time. It wasn't FedEx Kinko's. And I made 300 photocopies. Mind you, the photocopy still had the 3 black holes. And then at night, I would literally stuff and stamp envelopes.
I love this, dude.
And I went to preforeclosuresdaily.com. I bought a list of pre-foreclosures. I sent out a direct mail campaign.
The internet was a thing back then.
That was a thing. That was a thing back then. So, but check this out, man. So there was a script on how to talk to people in pre-foreclosure from the manual.
Right.
And I remember feeling like such an imposter. I was getting phone calls, Willie, from people that were in financial distress, man. They were behind on payments. It was a serious thing. And here I am, a 25-year-old kid in my head that doesn't know a thing about real estate, walking them through the process. And so I started going out on appointments and just walking I was stumbling through it. I remember calling Ray, I remember my first appointment, I got the deed to the house. And Ray's like, you got the deed to the house. I got the deed to the house.
So we'll talk about that.
So Ray goes, you got the deed to the house? I said, yeah, what do I do? He says, go record it. I said, no, true story. Ask him if you talk to him. I said, Ray, I can't record it. This is the deed to their house. He's like, no, you don't understand. You have to. So I ended up bringing Ray as a partner onto that deal because I was just afraid, dude. Quite honestly.
Let's stop there for a second. So, because you said a lot of, this is like gold especially for the younger generation. Because I went through this at 25 and it's about you, not about me, but so many similarities in that. Like JVing, right? Noticing the awareness at 25 to be like, dude, I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Right.
And yet you still went out on the appointment. Yeah. You got the deed. So for anybody that's like, oh, I don't know where to get started, listen to that, because he didn't know either, but he got a deed.
Yeah.
And he didn't get a contract, he got a deed. So again, my entire business model is designed off of that. Now
I can't wait to get into it too, by the way. Yeah.
I don't owe you a trademark or anything. People were buying deeds a long time ago because Mark Evans is like, no, it was reverse wholesaling, reverse real estate in 2006. I was like, brother, it's got TM on mine. I don't know.
There you go. 5% equity will do, but we'll talk about that later.
Whatever. We'll pay it out of the royalty. Okay. But you did that. And then, of course, you brought somebody on that had more experience from you. So you didn't mess it up.
That's right.
Which is very important.
That's
right. Most people don't want to do that. And I always say I'd rather own 20% of a watermelon than 100% of a grape.
I love that quote.
And yeah, man. And I don't know. I think it might be a Miami thing for some reason because it's more prevalent there than anywhere. I've traveled just like you. Dude, people are so close-minded and they're just so scarce of, oh, you know, I don't want a JV because I'm giving away something. I'm like, you're not giving away because you don't even know what you're doing.
That's right.
You know, and you might actually give away the deal if you do it by yourself.
I was just going to say, had I not brought Ray on, like my ego isn't so large that like I'm not naive enough to think I might not have gotten that deal done. I may have, but I probably would have fumbled the deal.
Yeah.
I remember getting on the phone with the loss mitigation department of the bank that had the mortgage on this particular property and not knowing, I didn't even know what loss mitigation meant.
Right.
But I've always been a ready, fire, aim type of guy. And I think that has served me more times than not in my life.
Yeah.
And that's something I'm hoping people watching us can take from it is like, we were just talking about this, like the stars are never going to align.
No.
Things are never going to be perfect. So eliminate the word perfection. And like, I just think, how do I progress? Like, what's the first step forward? And I think that served me on. So yeah, Ray and I closed that deal about 3 months later. My first deal was a short sale. And I think we made, it was exactly 44 grand that we ended up splitting.
So this is 44 grand. You're 25, let's say 22,000, right? Ish.
Yep.
We won't even get into the cost of marketing. It was probably nothing because
300 letters.
Yeah. 300 letters. What is that? $300, $1 a
Wasn't
letter.
much.
Yeah. So you're living at home with your parents. You're making 22 grand. I'm sure at GE you were making what a year?
47.
So you half your yearly salary basically off one deal, 3 months, and so a quarter instead of a full year.
Well, what I thought was, if I'm glad I brought Ray on, right? Because of what we just talked about. But what it made me think about is on the next deal, here I am expecting every deal is going to be 44 grand now.
Yeah.
Naive, which I got a rude awakening that it wasn't.
Yeah.
But in my head, I'm like, I could just do one more deal and now I'm over my salary. That was my mindset.
Hey, but it's not bad. Yeah. I mean, it is very possible. I mean, back then, you know, I wasn't around in the game in 2005, but bro, even in 2017 when I got started, I mean, my first deal was 11 grand, split 3 ways. for the record. So, but I was like, dude,
but it got you in the game.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, this is sick. You know, like I'd never seen a check with a comma on it. You know, to my name.
That's incredible.
Like, wow, look at that. And then the first time you get the 5 figures, you're like, wow, there's 5 digits on this one. You know, but I think the young guys too in the game, like they might watch me slam a 6-figure deal or whatever. Not knowing what it took to get that deal. Because, you know, Ray always used to say, funny enough, I never forgot it. He said, 6-figure deals aren't found, they're created. And that always stuck with me because I've never ran into a 6-figure deal. I'm like, man, that was easy. No, it's usually a shit show.
That's right. You're solving a problem.
A big problem.
Oftentimes.
Big problem.
Right? The bigger the problem, the more you're going to get paid, generally speaking.
100%. That's one of my favorite quotes. But so you do this, you make 22 grand. Obviously, you're like, okay, proof of concept. I'm in. Carlton Sheets is the man. This works. It's 05. I mean, I assume that the real estate market is bustling because it's prior to the crash.
Dude, it's kicking ass.
Yeah. So let's talk about that because we're both from Miami. But what was the marketplace like back then?
It's almost like as if you had a pulse, you were making money in real estate. Right? Seriously. Like, and so like, I don't take any credit for the fact that my first deal was a $44,000 deal that we split. The market was just so hot, man. And there was so many things going on, and little did I know that there was going to be a crash coming in 2 years. You talk about like reading the tea leaves, understanding market cycles. I didn't even know what a market cycle was. Again, I was just like ready, fire, aim. And so my first year in the business, I think I did 12 or 13 wholesale deals.
It's incredible, dude.
So yeah, I made a little bit over 100 grand. Right now, the next 10, 11 deals were nowhere close to 44 grand.
Sure.
Right. But that's okay. So my first year, I think I did 12, 13 deals. And then at the beginning of 2007, I thought it was a good idea because I'm so wise to get involved in my first luxury flip.
Of course. Why not?
I mean, naturally, right? So between myself and a partner, we bought a property in Las Olas for $505,000.
On Las Olas?
No, not on Las Olas, but like 5 minutes away.
Right.
In the area. And I'll cut to the end. We lost $102,000.
Yikes.
We thought the ARV was like 770. We bought it for 505. We were going to put about 70 to 100. We ended up putting double that into it, if not more. Obviously, the crash happened. And so I lost $51,000 of my money.
First year. Or no, 2 years
this was 2.5 years in.
Right. And you're 27-ish.
Yeah, 27. So I've done nearing 800, 900 deals in my career. And I just say that for perspective that people ask me like, Alex, what's the best deal you've ever done? That deal was the best deal I've ever done. Why? Up until that point, Willie, I always saw coaches and mentors like Drea and, you know, all these Dreas, they had mentors for $5 grand. And I remember for me, $5 grand was like, why would I pay somebody $5 grand? I just did 10, 11 deals my first year. Had I had a coach or a mentor, I never would have gotten involved in that deal.
100%.
Right? Yeah. And so to this day, I view that as the best deal, losing 51 grand on a deal.
Yeah.
102 total, because from that point to today, I have never been without a coach or a mentor.
Well, that's a really good lesson. Cost you 50 grand to learn that one, but that's easy.
Honestly, I thought I came away like pretty, it was cheap. It was cheap. Now, don't get me wrong. 51 grand, it hurt.
No, of course.
And it could have put me under. Thank God it didn't. But I'm super grateful for that learning lesson.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've lost because I've done a lot of volume and thinking I'm hot shit. And, you know, big thing for any of the wholesalers in here. Don't think that you're a hot wholesaler and you can go into fix and flip and you're King Midas. Very different businesses.
Brother, I quickly realized exactly that. It's a completely different business. And I also, it was a lesson to like stay in my lane. Yeah. Not that you don't have to evolve and have new tools, but I just didn't like it. Fix and flip wasn't for me.
I think me either, to this day. But I think you also have to master the lane before you move into another lane. I know because every single time that I ever strayed away, before I really took off in wholesaling, every single time I strayed away and I tried to keep rentals or I did fix and flips from wholesaling, I always got smacked right back into that lane. Yeah. And every time I came back to wholesaling, for some reason, it always went better for me. Yeah. And one day I think I just got tired of the brain damage. I was like, you know what? I'm going to just do the wholesale and I'm going to be the best. And then, you know, I got really into, you know, the docket and understanding really high level plays and, you know, which is kind of like where the whole reverse flip thing came out of, but buying deeds, going after deals that nobody wanted, right? All the dead stuff. And I became a master at that, just reading the play and really understanding it. but I was always batting higher
Yeah.
because these deals just had more to give, you know? But staying in your lane is very important, dude. Especially for the young guys, man.
100%. And also, like, if I was as wise as I thought I was back then, because I didn't know anything, but I thought I knew a lot. I thought I was the man, having done 12 deals my first year, right? Of course. Like, you know, I'm the next. So anyways, I would have cut my teeth on a smaller deal, not a $500,000 home, right? That ended up, it could have taken us out. So a lot of learning lessons, man. Like, I'm grateful for the L's I've taken. It sucks. Don't get me wrong. It's painful when you're going through these challenges, but I always know that I'm going to come out better. At least that's the mindset I have.
Yeah. Well, you don't learn anything from winning, in my opinion.
You don't learn as much, I don't think.
Yeah. I think winning just confirms that you've showed up enough. Winning's awesome. Don't get me wrong. Of course. But I don't think you could ever be a winner unless you were a loser first.
I agree with that.
You know, and your story, my story, time and time again, like we're so good at whatever it is because we've lost so much.
That's right. That's right.
It's not because
let me tell you, man, like, I honor you for sharing that, because there's so much content out there. People are just highlighting the wins, right? And I think we would do people watching us like a better service if we shared, like, man, we've been kicked and we've gotten knocked down hard. And sometimes you see people and they're an overnight success, like, oh, look at Willie, look where he's at. Yeah, but you don't know the crap Willie had to eat in order to get to where he's at.
It's a lot of crap. It's 8 years of crap.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's 8 years, dude. You know, again, it's not all the time in the world. There's guys with a ton more time than me, but it was 8 years of a lot of contact, a lot of activity. And I'm the type of person that always, I'm going to move fast and I'm going to mess it up, but I have to move fast, and I'll learn by, you know, running into things sometimes. I like to think that now I'm not trying to run into as many things because I'm just 33 now. I turn 34 next week. You know,
you're a baby, dude. 30,
I'm getting a little older though, you know? 25 and 33.
Wait till you start getting some grays on that beard of yours.
Hopefully not. I got the red going on. But my brother's all more salt than pepper, you know? I'm like, you're salty, dude. Just all the time. You won't diet. He's like, no, it's salty. Yeah, but you do get to a point in your career where, at least I think, if you're self-aware, and you should always be taking inventory and auditing yourself, of just looking and saying, all right, clearly I am not where I want to be. I don't know all the shit that I thought I knew. There's always somebody out there who knows more shit than you do.
Always. And use that. Hopefully that gives people some peace and comfort, knowing, don't compare yourself to somebody, man. They're on their journey. Right? Like, I forgot who said it, but comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
Right? And I've fallen victim to that, man. Sometimes I hop on social media and I'm like, I feel like, man, I'm not doing enough, is the internal feeling. And that just tells me that I have more inner work that I need to do. Yeah. To me, that's a sign that I need to continue to work on myself.
Dude, it's so key because, again, it's interesting. Number one, and I always tell people this because I've learned this the hard way. I'm like, number one, nobody gives a shit about you.
That's right.
Let's just be honest.
Maybe our mothers,
not like family. I'm saying the outside world. They don't. Like, when I record a video, dude, people are like, "Oh man, you're finally getting like these viewers, and people pay attention. There's thousands of views." I was like, brother, I was recording things when 2 people would show up to my lives.
That's right.
For month after month after month after month, nobody gave a shit. Yeah. A lot of people still don't give a shit. Yeah. You know, there's a video of mine that went viral. Most Miami people were tearing me down in there. They're like, "Nah, that's fraud. You can't do this." And I'm like, so you're going to get it from every angle.
Yeah, that's right.
But you're not doing it for them. The point is, you're doing it for you, right? I'm not here to impress you. I'm not here to impress anybody. I'm here to just impress me.
Good for you.
And if I learn something in the process, you know, obviously that's the real joy. That's the bonus, you know? Yeah. But I've always done so by being around older guys that had more time in the game. And, you know, the mentorship thing you said, I couldn't agree with it more. Yeah. I got in my first mastermind 7 years ago. You know, like, even the office that we're in right now, you know, Mark's office, our office, you know, we have spaces in here together. There's a lot of collaboration that happens here. Yeah. And I always say, you know, amateurs compete and professionals collaborate.
Love it.
And I've made the most amount of, not even money, but just strides professionally and deepening relationships when I've said, hey, I have this skill set, you have that skill set. Why don't we complement those two things? You will always go further, you know, faster that way.
That's it, man. We can make 1 + 1 = 11, not 2, if you have that mindset. And don't get me wrong, I'm a very competitive person with myself.
Sure.
Right? Like, and I think competition is healthy if it's, how can I be a better version of myself tomorrow than I was today? How can I be better today than I was yesterday?
Yeah.
But man, I preach within our community, like collaboration, like connect with people where you bring and add value to the table, and maybe figure out where you guys can collaborate to create something greater than what you could do by yourself. Because man, business is a team sport. Like nobody has achieved any level of success on their own. I just don't believe that to be the case.
Well, the best example I always give to people is look at Jeff Bezos. He owns less than 9% or 9.6% of Amazon. What does that tell you? It's $1 trillion company. He owns 9.6% of that company. Elon Musk owns somewhere in the teens for Tesla. What does that tell you? You know, the guy's collaborating at a whole different level because he knows there's no way I could do this without my capital partners, without all the investors, without the capital markets, without all the engineers, the stock options. There's no way because he's one person. And we all have 24 hours.
That's it.
The only difference is what are you leveraging it as, right? So 07, you get smacked, 50 grand. That's a toughie.
Yeah.
07, 08 happens, right? Obviously, you went through the crash.
Yep.
Like the crash of all crashes.
I went through the crash, and then I went through a personal crash.
So two crashes.
We may or may not get there.
So
but
State Farm's not insuring you.
State Farm wants nothing to do with me.
That's nothing to do. Me either. I've had some crashes of my own. What happens in your opinion? Because everybody always has like a different story of 07, 08. But what happens in your opinion in 07, 08? Like, where did you see like, oh shit, this is a big deal. Like, what's happening?
Dude, money is everywhere, right? Like if you've ever watched the movie The Big Short, right? Like people, again, we talk about having a pulse and making money in real estate. If you had a pulse, you can buy a $500,000 property. Like people were qualifying
what could go wrong?
Ninja loans, right? No income, no assets, right? People buying all these properties. And man, I hate to admit it, but I didn't see what was going on until it had already happened. And that was a huge, valuable learning lesson for me to understand market cycles, right? And Dave Lindahl, I read his book on market cycles. And Ray, we talk about our mutual friend, he was really good at understanding market cycles. Ray, he talked a lot about that, right? But at that time,
very economist, driven brain,
exactly right. But at that time, man, I didn't know what was happening until it was already done, and I was starting to be affected. Like things were not happening as quickly. And I was
give me an example, like real world, because you guys were running so fast. Everybody's making money, right?
Yep.
I've heard and I've read, and I was coming out of high school at the time, but I know things were moving. Like you would grab a deal, this guy would sell the deal and sell the deal and sell the deal.
It would get wholesaled 3-4 times over. Yeah. To give you an idea,
Jim Van Dyke would tell me these stories too.
Oh, that was super common.
Via fax, they would like resell
via fax, correct. Via fax. Myself and JBD, we used to do a bunch of wholesale deals back in the day.
These guys are getting old. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm young, but these guys, I don't know what's going on here.
Deals would get, I might be the second or third person in a deal, and it might get flipped over 1 or 2 more times. And it was insane. And then it almost, Willie, you ask about that time, it was almost like overnight, everything came to a screeching halt.
Okay.
Like,
so it was that fast?
For me, it felt like it was that fast. Maybe the reality it wasn't for others. I can only speak from my experience. It's like the business was a light switch. I was like rocking and rolling, and then boom, it just stopped.
What did you notice though? It was the buyers first, the lenders,
so it was everything. It was everything. Like money started to freeze up. There wasn't money flowing anymore. Wholesalers, buyers started to get very like fearful. Warren Buffett has that famous quote, be greedy when others are fearful when others are greedy. Little did I know that I was entering into a stage where that was the opportunity to start buying and holding assets.
Big time.
We talk about learning lessons and mistakes. People ask me all the time. It's like, I got into real estate because I wanted cash flow and I wanted freedom and options. And yet I ended up playing the game of wholesaling, which is transactional, making a lot of money, but looking up years later and saying, hey, where's the cash flow? Right. And so
I had that realization a year ago.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
that's why I got out.
It took me about 12, 13 years to figure that out, right?
That's because I watched you, so I learned.
Oh, I don't know about that, but thank you. There you go.
I learned from guys like you, man.
You know what? We're going to clip that. I'm going to take it anyway.
That's a real.
There you go. So, but no, man, it came to a screeching halt. And then 2009, I was living in Brickell in a building, Isola.
Oh, you
Brickell
told me
Key.
this. Yeah.
Did I tell you this story?
Yeah. Go ahead.
We'll fast forward.
Yeah, no, it was a good one though. We got the letter or something.
I got a letter, man. I owed the IRS about 128 grand.
Oof.
126 grand, 128 grand. And I remember meeting with a bankruptcy attorney in the Gables. And I don't know if I shared that part of the story with you, but I was I remember I got emotional driving down Coral Way on the way to Gables to meet with his bankruptcy attorney. And that guy, his name was Kincaid, I'll never forget. I sat down with him and he gave me a gift. I was very hesitant. I was asking some questions, but when it was time to like sign the documents and like I think I had to give him like a $1,500 deposit or something, I hesitated. And he said, let me stop you right now. I know what you're thinking. This is your best option. Like, you're not going to be able to get out of this. And dude, talk about like, you know, how I'm competitive with myself.
Yeah.
I got up, I left. And on the way back, I said, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Keep in mind, now I owe 6 figures and it's 2009. The market had completely taken a crap. I said, I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to pay the IRS back. I'm going to pay off my credit card debt. I'm going to learn from this. And it took me about 3.5 years. I ended up hiring a coach, and 3.5 years, I paid off everything. I still don't know how I did it, but I just committed. And I think that's the takeaway is that you might not know how you're going to do something, but I think once you decide and commit and you just take the first step forward and the second step. And so, yeah, man, I gave you the modified version because I guess I've shared it with you, but that was a big challenge to overcome.
I appreciate you sharing that, dude, because a lot of people would hide stuff like that. And I know it's like a vulnerable thing. Obviously, BK is not something that anyone ever wants to say, oh, yeah, I was close. Granted, it was 09.
No, I was close.
So I think everybody would have given you a pass anyway because half the country was in BK. I mean, it's just what it is. But personally, I get it because I've been in situations like that where, you know, through the business divorce that I had, there was a moment where I'm like, bro, it might be possible to just do this and it'd be easier.
Yeah.
I do think it's an easier path, and I'm not saying that anything against people. There are some situations where it makes total sense. Yeah, and yeah, we use it in our business, right? With certain things with lenders legally, but it is an easier path.
Yeah.
And you said the word commitment. Commitment is very important to me. I live my life by it. So when you commit, I can't tell you exactly what happens, but you know what I'm talking about.
That's it. You burn the bridge.
It's almost like the universe just moves all the shit out of the way. It's like, all right,
that's it.
This might suck for a little bit, but we're gonna help this guy out.
That's it.
You know, and it's like a rock with water. It just flows around it. It just doesn't go through it.
Yeah.
Dude, not a lot of guys would have done that, you know?
Yeah, I remember for me feeling like this is definitely the easier path, but man, I had a lot of pride. And I don't say that from a place of like, if somebody listening has filed BK, they have their reason. For me, I was like, this is another challenge, man. This is adversity God's putting me through. Like, I'm just going to figure this out. And by the way, the key was I didn't figure it out alone. I hired a coach. I started to just grow on myself. And as a result of growing personally, I was able to overcome this challenge.
No kidding. Yeah, but listen, for the younger guys and even the older guys and girls, dude, it's 09. Put yourself in that position. It's 09. The whole world is melted. No one's buying real estate. Nothing's happening.
Everything was frozen.
Yeah, like literally nothing's happening. Okay, the worst of the worst. And it took them 3.5 years to climb out of that hole.
Yep.
That is not like, oh yeah, I did it in 3 months. It's just 3.5 years of commitment. Like, I know what that's like because when you have to climb out of something, people tend, especially with Insta bullshit now, like everything, like everything gets compressed.
Yeah.
Where you just hit a button and you see like a Brad Lee and it's like, oh wow, that's great. Yeah, but that's 3.5 years, which arguably you didn't know this. And it's funny just how the world works and the universe, but it was going to be the best time to get into real estate because you rode the hockey stick too.
That's right.
Because what goes down must go
come
up. What goes up must come down.
Yep.
But if you didn't stick around, you'd have missed that entire, we wouldn't be sitting here, you know?
100%.
Maybe you'd be back at GE.
So, you know, for people listening, like whenever you're going through like a shitstorm, just the only way that you can fail is just to quit and give up, man. Just keep going through it, man. There's going to be like light at the end of that tunnel, as cliche as that sounds.
No. It's not cliche at all. And I think for me, I can only speak to my experience, but I've seen it happen so many times with so many other guys. That is where you will find your true self.
Yeah.
And that's where I say that's where the men actually get going. Because look, a little boy can make a lot of money just like I did, right? Yeah. Then, you know, don't talk to me about your good days. Don't talk to me about when the sun's out and the weather's nice and the girls are pretty, right? And everything's just, the wind's blowing. Right. Talk to me about what do you do in the middle of a shitstorm.
That's right.
You know, how you react there and in that situation will tell me more than I need to know.
That's it.
And you can, you know, at these masterminds, as you know, you can see who's a weathered man and who's not.
You see the battle scars, man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, you see it right here.
That's it.
Where you're like,
that's it.
Yeah.
And you also know, it's funny at these masterminds, you know when somebody's like putting up a wall in the front and they're feeding BS, and because when you'll just hear it, all you hear is like wins and wins and wins, and it's like, and then you get them at the bar or at dinner, and then you find out the real.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's interesting the culture of masterminds these days, man, where people put up this wall like I got everything figured out.
Yeah. That's why I left a lot of them.
You and I both?
Yeah. I'm only in 2, and they serve a very specific purpose. Yeah. But yeah, all the real estate masterminds, and that's not to hate on anybody. I mean, I'm just a very blunt guy. Mm-hmm. Most of it is bullshit. Yeah. Most of it is bullshit. I got tired of it. I hit my wall. I was in a breakout room. It's a very typical format, as you know. Mm-hmm. And I was listening to these guys. That's actually where this came out of, like, just
reverse flip.
Yeah, the light bulb. This came out of like 2019 when Ray taught me how to buy a deed. Basically, yeah, it was the precursor, but expanded on that. But I heard one too many breakout presentations, and dude, it was like, when you see something, you can't unsee it. Right. That was it for me. It was the same conversation about the same KPIs, and this dude had been there 2 years in a row. And we would all hear the same shit. Yeah, and it was just like the drop in the bucket that just overflowed it. And I was like, bro, it was like an aha moment for me. Because let's get really real and raw, because then we'll go into how you scaled, and then you got out and you pivoted into storage now. Bro, there's no enterprise value in the flip game or the wholesale game.
It's an extremely difficult business to be able to structure it and build it in a way that it can be sellable. In fact, I don't know anybody personally. I'm not saying it's impossible. I don't know anybody who's successfully sold a transactional wholesaling business.
I've heard of guys, and I sold 33% of mine for $1 million.
You killed it, by the way.
Yeah, and it wasn't structured that way. And it ended up being probably the worst decision I ever did. But that's a whole nother story for another. Maybe we'll talk about that on your podcast.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Because what looks good on surface level is not necessarily, you don't know what's underneath the water.
Yeah, underneath the hood, right?
Yeah, and it also gave me a lot of arrogance. It's like, oh wow, look at this, right? But no, it's when you look deeper, they didn't really sell it for the transactional value, because in our business, the operator is really the driver.
That's it.
There's nothing proprietary about what we do. First of all, everyone's pulling the same shit, pulling the same list, same mail houses,
same marketing copy.
Yeah. Same thing. It's Chris Chico says this is it now. Oh man,
shout out to Chico. Love that guy.
I love that guy too. I gotta get Baldy. I gotta get you in there. But he gave up on the gray. He's just bald.
Yeah, exactly. A smart man.
Yeah, smart man, but tremendous marketer.
Yeah, he is.
But yeah, dude, you look and you're like, there's really nothing there. You just see guys at the highest levels. You just see guys that maybe are just better at doing certain things and have had more time in the game, and maybe they have a better marketing approach to things. Right. But there's nothing proprietary about that.
If you can remove the operator from the business and the business takes a big step back, it's not a business.
It's not a business,
right? Unless the business is going to be sold with the operator for a period of time, that's a different conversation. But even then
you're an employee.
Exactly right.
Like me. I went through that.
Yeah, exactly right. Man, I can't wait to talk about this.
That's not fun.
Yeah.
There's nothing more trippy than you being an owner and then being like, wait,
now
why am I being told what to do? Hold on a second. I founded this thing. What happened? And they take your little letterhead and you're like, damn, this sucks.
Wow,
that's a climb. That's a fun.
I can't wait to get into that conversation.
Yeah, but that was like, I call it like my penance in that period, because that was like God telling me, like, listen, you need to grow up and you need to humble up. Okay, so we're gonna keep you here till I see that you're ready.
So that's so interesting. You got to check for $1 million for a wire or whatever, right?
Yeah. It wasn't one hit,
or maybe it was paid out over time, right? And then all of a sudden you became an employee and you found yourself like, I don't know if I like this. I don't like.
Yeah, it wasn't set up that way. It was just, that's basically what happened. Looking back at it in hindsight, and I had all these new rules and all these limitations. Like I could only use X lender. There was a third partner that came into it. That third partner was bought into the business, not with his own money. Absolute dipshit. Did not know what he was doing. We started clashing about a year later. It was a disaster. Oh. Like I relinquished control, but that really came because I didn't have enough self-discipline to have seen that situation. So maturity. But it was the best thing that ever happened to me too, because that was about a 2.5-year climb out to what you see here today. So
that's like the common theme of this particular show so far, right? Yeah. It's like we go through these shit storms, but like what comes out on the other side of it, right?
So. We really suck at what we're doing, just for the record. And then we just create these impossible situations.
We figure it out, right?
We're masochists is what we are.
How many times do we have to run into the brick wall until you figure out like, yeah, that's probably not the best approach?
Dude, I got concussions to spare.
Yeah, so we both got battle scars.
Yeah, bro. I think, again, like especially Miami, Cuban, this, that, whatever.
Right.
You do not have to hit all these walls. And that's what I tell all the younger guys. I'm like, look, dude, just you're paying me. I don't do one-on-one anymore. But the guys that I have worked with, I'm like, you're not paying me. You think you're paying me to show you how to do, 150 deals a year and the KPIs and all that slick shit. You're really paying me for all the walls that I'm going to tell you to not hit and all the money I'm going to save you and the time I'm going to compress for you. That's it. Because that's what I paid Ray for. He shaved easily 4 or 5 years off my learning curve. It was uncomfortable, but I was able. That's what a mastermind should be, but that's really what a good mentor should be. Where have you been? This is what I'm thinking of doing. Oh no, there's a landmine there, there's a pothole there, and there's a wall with machine guns over there. So you're not going that way.
And you can't see it because you've never walked that path. You've never been in those shoes.
But you have to be able to listen. Yes. And that's where I see the truly exceptional guys are the ones that when they are given that information, I've been guilty of doing it the other way too. I don't know if you have, but you go against the grain with the mentor and then you run into that wall anyway. And then that guy's looking at you like, didn't I tell you?
Yeah, that's one thing that I think, not to say I'll give myself credit, but like whenever I make an investment in myself, usually it's a pretty sizable investment.
Sure.
Like I'm paying that person for a reason. So more times than not, I take action. I'm sure there's been times where like, no, I'm not going to do it that way. And I'm pretty certain when I haven't, it hasn't worked out for me. Yeah. So yeah,
there's no worse conversation to have than, hey man, so I did this and it turns out you were right. That's like a hat in hand. It's like, well, I did tell you that.
I heard a podcast recently with Pace Morby, how his first mentor, he met with him at a Starbucks.
Yep.
And the second meeting, have you heard the story?
Yeah.
The second meeting, the mentor is like just reading his body language. Like, you didn't do what you told me you were going to do on the first one. He's like, you're fired.
Yep.
And so it was very interesting. Yeah. A good coach, a good mentor will hold you accountable. But you got to hold yourself accountable. Like at the end of the day, like, do you want whatever it is you say you want? And are you willing to decide to commit and then put forth that action?
Yeah. And I'll say there's one guy that comes to mind. His name is Oscar. He's in Miami and I mentored him for about 2 years.
Okay.
Very special individual. Like I couldn't be more proud of what he's turned out to be. But I told him, I think maybe the first or second meeting we had, I said, dude, look, here's the deal. A lot of people will come to me or guys like me and they want all these things. And one thing I've learned about life is that guys especially, they want all these things and they want to accomplish all these things. Most times they don't even know why, but whatever. But so when you're actually presented with the cost, because everything has a cost, nothing is free, it's bullshit. There's no such thing as free. Everything has a cost. When you're presented with the cost, AKA the sacrifice,
right,
what you're going to have to let go of to clear that weight to climb to the next level, most guys will say, I didn't really want the Ferrari that bad because I didn't know it was going to suck that bad.
Yep.
I didn't know this. I thought this was going to be a year. Turns out it's 5, right? So that's why you see the 1% or such a select few in these rooms, because they were willing to pay that price.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lesson that I learned a long time ago. I really was, for me, and this is something I told Ray, as a matter of fact, in our first meeting, I said, I'm willing to eat ramen noodles for a decade at my mom's house, if that's what it takes.
And you meant it.
But I meant it. Oh, I meant it 100%. I was like, dude, I will be homeless before I go back to Merrill Lynch.
Yeah.
You understand? I'm not going anywhere. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And, of course, Ray was like, yeah, we'll see. And I'm like, I mean it. And that was the competitive side. I was like, listen, dude, I'm fucking show you that I mean it.
Yeah. If I say it, I'm gonna,
Man, no. And I think I lived up to it 100%. And it sucks, dude. It sucks. I'm sure there's a lot of times you wanted to quit. I mean,
here's a perfect example. I told you earlier how I just started jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Just because I wanted to challenge myself. It's been 2 weeks into this. and every training session sucks. You know, they told me when you get started, you're the nail or you're the hammer. When you get started, you're gonna be the nail, and it's humbling, man. But I realize that it's not always gonna be like this. At some point, I will be the hammer, at least on the mat, right? And so it's a metaphor for life. It's a metaphor for business. Like there's gonna be times, man, where it's going to suck. I think this, and tell me if you disagree. Feel free to like push back.
Sure.
I think this opinion of if you do what you're passionate about, you'll never work another day in your life, or just do what you love. I think it's BS.
It's complete BS.
Now, I didn't always think that, but I've learned throughout the years, I think it's complete BS. There's going to be times in my business where I'm going to embrace the suck and do things I don't necessarily like, and that's okay. Now, the question is that just a period? Is it a season? Is it, or is it just a moment? Right? So like, I think that's terrible advice when I hear that. I just don't agree with it.
Yeah, real estate, for the record, was never my first choice. And I was telling my fiance about this because like a year ago, she's like, well, I just don't love this thing. And I, bro, it like hit a chord with me. And I told her, I was like, look, let me tell you something. You think I love door knocking in Liberty City? Yeah. Which is where I started? Yeah. No. Nobody tells you that is a damn liar. That's right. I'm like, that's right. Bullshit. That's right. Okay. But what I did love was I hated more so the fact of being broke and having a single mom and all that. So if you can find a way to tie that into your why, then you'll love whatever it is. And like Mike Tyson says,
bingo.
You have to, discipline is doing what you hate like you love it. Yeah. And dude, I'll go toe to toe with anybody on that. Cold plunge, whatever. Dude, that's right. I will eat it and I will smile. And I'm fine because I'm not worried about the action. I'm worried about the results. That's it. So if you start with the end in mind, at least it's going to suck.
You're preaching, man. You're preaching. I think I want to encourage people to like rewind the last 60, 120 seconds and like listen to exactly what you just said, because there's so much wisdom in that right there.
Thank you.
Right? You do what you're discipline yourself to do, not what you say you want. Right? You don't get in life what you want. You get in life what you're committed to.
And what you tolerate.
That's it.
Yeah. Tony Robbins, I think that's probably one of the most prolific things. There's two things that he said when I met him very briefly, like 9 years ago. He said, don't worry about the how. The why is big enough, the how will follow. He was right on that. And he was right on both counts, because he said you will not fall to the level of, you'll fall to the level of your standards. And that's what you'll get in life, what you tolerate. Yeah. And it's true. That's why I see a lot of guys, because this is real estate centric, see a lot of guys a decade, 15, 20 years later, they're doing the same thing. They're making $3,000 a deal, $5,000, whatever it is, right? Just understand the money is not the important part. But if you're making that amount of money on one transaction, number one, respectfully, be real with yourself. That's the level of value you're bringing to the marketplace. Yeah. Don't be upset that you're not making enough money. You don't have a skill set, or you haven't cared to learn it to go make more money. If somebody's making $100,000 on a deal, you better believe that dude or girl is bringing a different skill set than what you did.
Completely agree.
There's Tom Brady's, and then there's all the rest of the guys, right? Where was he adding value to? And that's what I love about capitalism per se, because it's universally unprejudicial. Like
the market doesn't give a shit about you.
Doesn't care.
Right?
It doesn't care.
It doesn't care.
Can care two fucks about where you come from, what language you speak, what color you are. Look at immigrants. Yeah. People are like, how did an immigrant become a millionaire in 4 years?
I love those stories are so inspiring for me.
It is. Right? Because cousins of mine.
It just proves that anybody can do it, man. Like anybody. The question is like what Tony Robbins said, right? Don't worry about the how, right? The why. If you have a strong why, how did he say it exactly? Like don't
worry about the how. If the why is big enough, the how will follow.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
For me, dude, again, and I'm not saying everybody has a different why. I'm just letting you know, especially to the young guys, if you think your why is, I just want to be rich, the Ferrari is never going to push you, or whatever it is, or the Rolex, or the AP, whatever it is. It's never going to push you past that really difficult moment. A single mom that you want to retire, dude, you could have put me outside in the fucking snow with no clothes on. I'd be out there doing jumping jacks for years. Yeah. It wouldn't have mattered, because mentally I'm not. The thing is, when you and I come across each other, not you and I, but like you and I, and you have that why and I have my why, and we come across each other in the marketplace, I'm going to run you over 10 out of 10 times.
Because you're not going to give up.
There's no, we lost, because again, going back to Mike Tyson, he said he knew he won every single fight before he walked into it, because he looked at the guy's eyes. And when the guy broke eye contact, he was like, I got him. It's not even going to matter.
Right.
Because that dude was prepped. And you win. All wars are won before they're fought.
That's it. Preparation breeds confidence too. Yeah. Right. And confidence is one of those things that, like, well, I have a mentor that says the number one job of any entrepreneur, Willie, is to protect their confidence. Because if you don't have confidence, really it's very difficult for you to take forth that action that you need to do.
And by the way, confidence comes from keeping promises to yourself.
Yeah.
Like every single time that, people are like, oh man, how are you so confident? I'm like, because when I say I'm going to do something here, which is the only place that matters, and I do it, the synapses in my brain are actually saying, oh, hey, this guy's doing it. When you don't and you break that, that's where now you're subconsciously, it's like, well, he's not going to do it anyway. That's right. And bro, I know it sounds super cliche, but
it doesn't.
Whatever it is, if you said X hour, I'm going to get up at X hour, dude. Yeah. Don't snooze it.
Don't.
Because that's it, bro. Like, I'm not saying you're a terrible person. I'm just saying you just set the tone for the rest of your day. And, I'll get to that tomorrow.
Well, but think about what you're telling your psyche. Think about what you're telling your conscious and subconscious. It's like, hey, I committed to do this, but you didn't do it. Like, now it's a withdrawal from that account, not a deposit into that account.
Nailed it, dude. Right? Nailed it. I haven't drank. I'm coming up on 2 years.
Good for you, man.
Like,
amazing.
Thank you. Not a sip, like, at all. Not like, oh yeah, I had a beer, like those guys. No. Yeah. Not a sip. And I was going to Europe, and there was a guy I was talking to, and he's like, oh man, like, you're gonna drink, right? And he knew I didn't drink. I'm like, no. And he's like, come on, man. Like, it's 3 weeks. Like, just enjoy yourself. And like, literally, and I get it. He wasn't coming from a bad place.
Right.
But he's like, dude, just enjoy yourself. Like, just, bro, you're in wine country, like, whatever. And I looked at him with a dead face, and I was like, dude, that's the difference between me and you. I don't negotiate with me. Period.
I love it.
And the dude kind of got like offended. He's like, oh, I wasn't saying. I was like, brother, no, it's cool. I'm just letting you know, I don't negotiate with me.
You've set a standard. You've raised that standard.
Period, dude. Plus, I don't, like, verbiage, like, oh, just enjoy yourself. I'm like, who said I wasn't enjoying myself?
Right.
What is the glass of wine?
But that's just more about kind of where his head is at, and not to judge, but that's just where he's at that stage of his life.
Correct. Like, that goes to anything. I know because I've been guilty of it. I'm like, oh, bro, when I have that car, I'm going to feel so good. No, dude, no. You can feel the same dipshit that you feel right now.
You can choose to feel whatever you want to feel today without the thing that you think is going to make you feel whatever it is you want to feel.
And if you can't feel that way today, I urge you to stay there and figure out why. Because the car or the watch or whatever it is only going to make it worse.
It's the new car smell for the moment, but it's going to go away.
100%. Yeah. If you can't do it in that moment, dude, stay there. Stay there because it's trying to teach you something. Yeah. It really is. Yeah. Then you could get the car, but through real enjoyment, not, oh, look at me.
That's right.
Because I've been guilty of that one. Yeah.
Man, I completely agree with you.
Listen, this went to a Tony Robbins route, and I like it. We're gonna cut a lot of this, but so you go on, you survive 07, 08, let's say, right? And
survive's a good way to put it.
Yeah, survive is, let's be honest, right? It was a good one, but I'm sure you saw a lot of competition fade out. I mean, massive amounts of people must have left the marketplace and never came back.
Yeah, for sure. There's very few people that I can think of that stayed through, like Jim Van Dyke, right? Our mutual friend of ours.
That guy's
was one,
father time.
He's an OG, right? Yeah. There's I don't know if a handful or so, but there's a small select group of people that stuck through real estate. A lot of people went to go get jobs. A lot of people just never got back. They weren't able to survive, and so I'm fortunate that I was able to just that stick-to-itiveness, that mindset, like what you said earlier. Like once you decide, there's no negotiating. So I just stuck it through.
Good for you. Yeah. And you scaled up because I remember. I mean, I got into it in 2017. You were still in it. You got out of wholesaling in 2020.
I got out right before COVID.
Good for you.
Yeah, right.
Did you time that just well, or
no? I'm not that smart. I'm not that smart. No,
you learn market cycles that well.
I had decided. No, man. That'd be a different ball. No,
I had talk about something else.
I had decided, just to back up a little bit. I was on a cruise with my wife, and I told her, I'm like, something's got to change, right? Like I don't want to keep hustling deals. We were doing, I don't know, at that time, somewhere between 50 and 70 deals a year, right? Like not nothing, but.
This is South Florida only?
This is South Florida only. Okay. You and I know people that do hundreds of deals a year, so nothing crazy. And don't get me wrong, we were doing very well financially, right? But it's like I asked myself a question. If I'm doing what I'm doing today, 12 months from now, how would I feel? And I had that feeling when I was in corporate finance on a Sunday evening. And I'm like, This is much worse because it's my own business. So I started buying rentals. I was in a mastermind, so I partnered with a guy who was feeding me deals. I started building a rental portfolio. And then I quickly learned the lesson that building and being a landlord, building a rental portfolio, is nothing passive about it.
You were building in the Midwest?
Yeah, Cleveland.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, Parma Heights.
I know who was selling you that.
Yeah. Yes.
Actually, you came up in conversation the other day.
Okay.
I can't remember the guy's name, but he was asking me about reverse flip. He's like, yeah, you're from Miami. Pardo used to buy rentals from me. And
Joe Lieber.
Yeah, Joe Lieber, exactly.
Lieber,
yeah, that's him.
Good dude.
He couldn't believe it. He's like, there's no way you're doing short sales in 45 days. And I'm like, and he just saw me speak on stage. He's like, I'm not trying to be a dick. Just sounds like bullshit. I'm like, dude, just run a short sale.
That sounds exactly like Joe.
And he's like, all right. Well, if you say so. I'm like, look, here's the school link. Sign up. And I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's not 2009. I don't know.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Joe was the guy that was kind of feeding me opportunities out there. Started building a rental portfolio. And then I was like, yeah, this isn't the path for me to build wealth and cash flow. And
Nothing
I happen to be
about it.
What was that?
Nothing passive about it.
Nothing passive about it. Don't get me wrong. It's a way to generate cash flow and build wealth. It just wasn't the way for me. I was coaching somebody who owned a storage facility. And so, by the way, 2019, I had decided I'm going to unwind. I had a team of 9 people. Our overhead grew to like 40, 45 grand, which for me, that didn't fit my vision. For some people listening, that's nothing. For others, that's a lot.
Well, I was running at like 120.
Yeah, no. I get chills listening to that.
Many sleepless nights. Amex loves me.
Well, but exactly what you just said, right? It's like the reality struck me, Willie, when I thought about the fact that I have to close 2 deals a month just to break even and feed the team and keep the lights on. And I'm like, I don't want this. I don't want this. Like I'm not trying to scale and build this business that I don't even think can be sold one day. And so 2019, I decided I'm going to start to unravel things. Right before COVID, it's like, okay, we're starting to, and then COVID came and it was just an accelerator.
So when you decide, okay, cool, obviously awareness there, that's what I see. You're like, all right, same for me. I put my time in the game for sure, over a decade. I don't see it going where I wanted it to go. But you're also thinking, you don't know what you're going to do. Right?
I didn't know what I was going to do. No. Okay. I knew that I had been coaching people since 2012. I started the Flip Empire show in 2016. And so I knew that my desire was to have a positive impact on people's lives. Like, and I know people like put that up on like a plaque or a board or something. Like for me, a bumper. I don't know about a bumper sticker, but
I'm going to make one. We're going to make one.
For me, it was genuine. Like I had a desire and I knew I loved the coaching side of the business, but I also wanted to keep doing real estate, right? Real estate's not a passion of mine. It was just a vehicle and a tool to allow me to work with people and to build wealth and cash flow. And I was coaching somebody who owned a storage facility. And dude, I got an inside look into an asset class that I felt was like under my nose, but I never paid any attention to it.
So you were coaching them on the resi side?
I was coaching them. No, they were part of a mastermind that myself and another partner were running called Ascend. And he happened to own a storage facility. And then I saw that he had cash flow and time freedom. He wasn't dealing with tenants and toilets and trash and all the crap I was dealing with in my single family rental portfolio. And it wasn't transactional. It was a slow business. It was a boring business.
Unsexy.
It's sexy because it's when you get in the business, there's nothing sexy about it. I mean, you rent out space.
They usually make the most amount of money.
Yeah.
Unsexy.
So it just opened my eyes. And so I said, okay, well, this could be my next thing. And so I compared it to multifamily. I always assumed if I did commercial, it was going to be multifamily, natural progression. But I kept going back to this thing called tenants and toilets. And I'm like, I don't.
It's a thing.
I don't want to deal with that, right? Like it's hard to build a multifamily portfolio without tenants, right?
It's very hard.
It's very hard.
No one's done it.
I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Bunch of AI people just renting from you.
Yeah. So anyways, at the end of 2020, I decided and committed like, hey, I'm going to do storage. Like I'm going to plant my flag on this asset class. And I ended up I closed 2 facilities that year, 2021. And so, yeah, man, now I'm in a position to not just do storage, but coach people, combine my love for coaching people on how to buy their first storage facility.
So how many storage facilities do you own now?
I just sold 80,000 square feet, 2 facilities in Jackson, Mississippi in the last 4 or 5 months. So I own 1 in Amelia Island, and then I have an equity position in another one. And we literally just went under contract on another one in Illinois.
Are you 1031ing out of those other 2?
I'm not. And that was very strategic. I thought I just didn't find the right asset. I had a short window and talked to my CPA, ended up deciding, hey, we're going to pay the piper on this one.
Oof. Pay the piper.
Yeah. No, and it's not a.
Oh, I know. Believe me.
Yeah, it's when you think about these assets and what it represents, it's like you make a lot of money, but it's like if you're not gonna 1031, be ready.
Be ready.
Prepare yourself.
Yeah, I talk about with Bobby Castro all the time. Yeah, he's like, dude, amazing. You better be.
That's one of the things you talk about Bobby Castro. I don't personally know him, but I know he's achieved amazing things. But one of my mentors says, divorce and taxes are two things that take down so many entrepreneurs.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so make sure that, we don't have to talk about divorce, obviously, but like, not a good thing.
It's not that kind of show.
Not that kind of show, but taxes, man. Like, again, going back to like my trouble with the IRS, like taxes is one of those things that can take a lot of people down.
Dude, it's funny enough. So like Mark Evans, we were on one of the thousands of things I've learned from him. He said something one time. He goes, how much time do you spend on your taxes? And obviously by my answer and my face, I was like, not a lot, not much. Clearly. I understand it at a high level, but that's already a bad answer.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, that's cool. I did too in my career for a long time, but most people spend about 1 to 2% of their time on taxes, but it's your single biggest line item.
That's it.
And that was an aha moment for me where I'm like, man, he meets with his team of CPAs every week. Every week.
That's discipline.
Every week. And that's like earned discipline because it's not like he woke up, he's like, man, I love taxes.
And I'm sure, I was just going to say, I'm sure those meetings aren't fun.
No.
Right? But
and it's like, you got to move this around, we got to do this, blah, blah, blah. But again, if there's one thing I know about Mark, and most of us are similar, obsessive personalities in that. That's why I don't drink anymore, but I cold plunge and I sauna, right? Like it doesn't go away. It just parlays into something else.
That's it.
The name of the game is let's add positive habits, and then you won. But now it's a game for him where it's a new game for him where he's like, hey, I'm going to figure out this tax game and I'm going to learn it the same way that I learned how to do 10,000 real estate deals or whatever it was. Yeah. And we learn all these strategies. But yeah, man, it's something that's so overlooked, but so simple, but so key. You
know what I love now that I've been in storage, and this has kind of transitioned into a conversation about taxes. I'm no expert.
Yeah.
Is that, but because of meetings, that's right, not legal advice, but because of my meetings with my CPA, he's got me looking at creative things like sovereign tribal tax credits and all these things that, a year ago, I never heard of these things. But now, because I've leveled up and there's a certain amount of income I've received from these assets, it's forcing me to learn new and creative ways, because making money is one thing, but can you keep it? Can you keep it and can you grow it? Those are different skill sets.
Look, and I'm not an expert at it because honestly, it's probably one of my weakest areas I know the high level stuff like, oh, you get 1031, oh, it's a self-directed IRA. I buy a car at the end of the year for a specific reason. It's over 7,000 pounds. Okay, it's an agriculture vehicle, you depreciate. But there's levels among levels, and we were talking about it at the Orlando DM meeting, and there was a tax wizard in there, and this dude was talking about movie film producer credits.
I heard that one too.
107 or a 109, don't quote me. It was ridiculous. It's like a 5x return on these taxes, and you could raise money off of it. It's crazy. 4x losses, carbon credits.
There's so many things out there, man. But that's what you have to. We talked about business being a team sport. You have to align yourself with people that know they've forgotten more about taxes than we know, right? Like those are the people I want to align myself with.
Yeah, and I think we've done it in so many areas of our business and our life. Like when I wanted to get in shape, I hired the best trainer I could think of. I did not hire, and you would not hire, naturally the guy eating Doritos that is out of shape, right?
It's interesting you said that. We go to Lifetime. I ran into you at Lifetime several months ago. Sometimes I will see a trainer that when I look at them, I'm like, this person doesn't really look super fit. And I'm like, I don't know that I'd ever hire somebody, not because I don't think they could coach me and help me, but like they don't look the part. Right? Does that make sense?
No. It makes total sense.
And maybe that's a little vain in some ways, but
I don't think it is at all. I know surface level it can, but I had somebody tell me a couple weeks ago, they saw me speak on stage, and the guy, sometimes people tell you things and you're like, damn, I'm so prolific, like what he said. And he's like, dude, you know what? If you and I came up on stage and you followed me or I followed you, people are going to believe you. And I was like, what? Why? why do you say that? Like subject matter? He's like, no, because look at how I look and look at how you look. And the guy was being just dead honest with himself. And I was kind of taken aback. I was like, I don't really know what to say here. You know, it was an awkward situation. But he's like, I'm fat. You're not. You know, you walk out there. You don't go to the bar. You go to your hotel room early. You're up early. You're at the gym at 5:30.
What does that spell? That D word again.
Yeah.
Discipline.
And you walk up there, whatever comes out of your mouth, people are going to believe you because perception is the first impression. And when they see you, they're like, that dude's got something that I don't. And I know because I've done it in my life where we do it as humans all the time. You're constantly scanning. What is this person wearing? What does he have? What is he? How does he walk? What shoes? How does he look? You know, what does he eat? Is he eating like shit? You know, because that's indicative to me. You don't even have to say anything to me. I'm a very like details guy like that. And I pay attention. I'm like, dude, I know I want to do business with you probably within 5 minutes of being around you, even though we haven't spoken.
Right.
But there's a high chance that if you look like me, you act like me, or you have certain tendencies. I'm like, when I see somebody else that doesn't drink, not judging anybody, birds of a feather flock together. Yeah. When I see that, I'm like, there's some level of discipline that this dude has, and I don't care why it is, that I gravitate towards. And I
makes
think
perfect sense.
It does. It does.
It really does.
So what's your favorite part of the storage in comparison to everything else?
Man, I can go in so many different directions with this thing. It's a very recession resistant asset class. Okay. So if economy is doing amazing, people rent storage. If the economy is not doing so well, people downsize, they rent storage. It's a very sticky product.
You nailed it. You took it right out of my mouth.
What's that?
Yeah, it's sticky. I was going to say it's a sticky business.
So, brother, the length of stay on average at our storage facilities is just under 3 years for our customers. Just under 3 years, which
means your retention rate.
Retention rate, which means when somebody moves in, they tend to stay for years.
So your lifetime value is incredible.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So, I mean, think about...
If only we had that in school, huh? That'd be great.
Storage expenses, man. Like, what does it cost depending on where you... $50 to $350 a month. Let's just call that the range.
Sure.
For most people, that's not going to like sink you, right? It's a nuisance expense. But think about the time, energy, and effort it takes to move your stuff out of a 10 by 20 unit. You got to get a truck and you got to bother friends and family or hire a moving and eat up a weekend. It's a process, man. So I like the fact that it's very sticky, and technology has allowed us to automate the majority of the business. So I run what's called an unmanned model. I don't have an employee. I don't have any employees. I don't have somebody at the office. Everything, they rent their unit on their phone. They get their gate code on their phone. A lock is ready for them.
You're kidding.
If they don't pay, the gate code stops working. So I love the fact that, think about my wholesaling business. I had 9 team members, 45 grand in overhead. I don't have any employees now. I had 104,000 square feet of storage up until like 4 months ago. No employees. Third-party management company, call center, local boots on the ground person. So
it's simple.
It's pretty simple, man. Now, I don't want to make it sound push button. The time, energy, and effort is spent in finding the right opportunities.
Sure.
I have to look through a lot of deals to find the right one. But once you do, anyway. But you got to do that anyways. Exactly right. Deal. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Dude, the longer I'm around on this earth, the more I see, I'm like, bro, the simpler makes money.
Simple. Who said it? Simplicity scales, complexity fails.
100%.
Right. That was my quote, by the way. But 100%.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, we're gonna tag him in that one.
There you go.
We're gonna give him credit for that.
Simplicity scales, complexity fails.
No, it's true, dude. The more complex. I mean, we're going through some complexities in our business, but the simplicity of go get a deed, a POA, and an assignment of surplus. That's all you need to do. We handle the rest of the back end. There is a lot of simplicity to that. Where I've done the other coaching model per se, where it's like, all right, I'm going to teach you everything there is to know about wholesaling, and we're going to go into it. We're going to underwrite it, blah, 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 blah. Dude, it's a nightmare. I used to think one-on-one is going to be awesome. And it was, but it was for selfish reasons, right? You're limited on time. You can't scale that business, right? And again, it's not simple.
That's why I love the one-to-many model, is that you can share what you know with a group of people, and one-to-one is just not scalable, and you're only helping that one person.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you could go back to the younger Alex, you know, I know everyone's like, oh, what I would do. I beat the shit out of him. No, I'm just
buy some Bitcoin now.
2011 would have been a great time. If you could go back to a younger Alex, somewhere between that time frame of 2009 to 2020, right? You had a decade run, basically. What would you say to that person? One thing that you could tell them.
Get to know God.
Wow. I didn't see that coming. That was good.
Get to know God. By the way, not that I didn't know God, but my faith wasn't as strong and rooted as it is now.
Yeah. Which I admire about you, by the way.
So, and by the way, you know, sometimes I'm conscious of like the things I share about my faith. I have felt a calling over the last couple of years to like just openly share my faith more. But I'm also mindful of like, I never want to make people feel like I'm trying to like shove it down their throat because like I respect everybody's beliefs.
Yeah.
But to me, man, when you get to know God and you have like faith and you're rooted spiritually, man, it's a game changer. Just everything changes.
Yeah.
Everything changes. And by the way, I'm still broken and I still got stuff I'm figuring out. So like, I don't share that from a place of like, I'm here. Yeah. Dude, I'm still like, you know, but get to know God, like just have a relationship with him, like pour into the word and just get to know God. I mean, that is the best advice I can give anybody. It's not financial. It's not real estate. It's not storage. That's it.
No KPI advice for you. Okay?
No KPI. We're not going to talk about KPIs. Yeah.
No, I like that, man.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm a pretty faithful person myself. I grew up super Catholic, as most Cubans do in Miami. But
notice I didn't say religion though.
Yeah. Religion, exactly. Yeah. And that's where I was going with
those
that.
Can be two different things.
Where, yeah, that's religion, denomination.
Yeah.
But for me, dude, I got to know God through a lot of work and a lot of journaling and a lot of, I've always been a big manifestation guy, you know, affirmations and stuff like that, but just a lot of the pain of the 2.5 years to get back here and the sobriety and all that, that was a huge eye opener for me. Because if you're unclear, dude, in the mind, nothing else is gonna matter.
I'm proud of you, man. And I love the fact that you're like professing and sharing that. Like, man, I've been sober for 2 years. Like that takes a lot of discipline and man, that's a demon a lot of people face and fight, man. So whether you realize it or not, I think you're inspiring people that are watching this. And like, if he can do it, I can do that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I do get messages. It's crazy from time to time on Instagram. And that was not why I did it. But it is certainly, it's a really nice thing to see where other guys will hit me up and be like, hey, dude, just want to let you know, like I'm fighting with something. I was not an alcoholic, but I was teetering a line of like, it was too much fun and this and that. And it was a crutch for me. So it was a simple decision for me. I'm like, dude, is this serving you or not? And
that's it. That's the question right there that people have to ask. Like whatever decision you make, is it going to advance you towards what you want? Or is it going to like take away and pull you back?
Well, you said the words deposit and withdrawals. And on a simplistic level, if you really could boil down life to that, not monetarily, but any kind of deposits or withdrawals, that's it, dude. And, you know, relationships, friendships, partnerships from the mastermind, you know, and once I feel like, all right, this is withdrawing from me past the point of like, I'm going to end up with an overdraft fee here, right? As simple as that sounds.
I've never heard it that way.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm going to bow out of that because I'm just, Max Maxwell told me a long time ago, you have to be selfish to be selfless. And
it's good.
I think he was really right on that. Because a lot of the times in my career, I was very, very selfish. And I cut a lot of things out and a lot of people included. That's the sad truth, by the way. A lot of you guys don't want to hear this. That's fine.
I think that's a healthy thing, by the way.
It's an extremely healthy thing. Because if there's only one person, by the way, that we all have to deal with forever till we pass. And it's us. You go to sleep with that person. You wake up with that person.
You're the common denominator.
Yeah, you talk to that person. You're in that person's head. Yeah. Everything you feed that person. You take care of that person. Right. There's one person that and if you don't, you die. So you know, let's talk about self-preservation. So you better make sure that relationship with that person is probably as good as it can get, because all other things are kind of like a kaleidoscope of that.
That's a great way to put it. I never heard a kaleidoscope. That's interesting, man. That's a great analogy.
Bro, I'm super sobriety, bro. Peptides too. Peptides.
We got to talk about that offline.
The peptides, bro. I spit some like prolific shit sometimes where I'm like, damn, did I say that?
I love it. Yeah, yeah. Well, hold on. What did I just say? Rewind that.
I'm like, Antonio, copyright that, please. I can't believe I said that. Antonio writes it all up for me. And then
does he? Okay.
Yeah, I just remember it.
He's like, yeah.
So today, you're just to kind of like wrap it up, but today you run the mastermind, teaching people how to get their first storage deal.
Yeah, focus solely on the entire singular goal of our program is to teach people how to buy their first storage facility, how to find it, how to fund it, how to profit, manage and operate it. And so, yeah, man, just the community is growing. And I love it, dude.
How many people do you have in there, more or less?
Right now we have just under 40.
Okay.
Just under 40. Yeah. So we launched it about 9 months ago. And so I think a part of this for me, man, is like, I realized the older I get, like there's a certain type of person I want to work with. Right. Like
No
I have learned the hard way that just because somebody can make an investment in a program or in themselves doesn't mean that you should work with that person. And so, but yeah, I get to partner with my students now. And so like, I have the ability now to do more storage deals without necessarily having to be the operator. And that came through just getting clarity about what I really, really want going forward.
Yeah. See, that's wisdom, guys. You see that? That's wisdom. So. Like I learned that lesson about a year ago. That's wisdom. You know, even when I was coaching guys in wholesaling, I never did it for the fees. Of course, I'm going to charge you a fee because those who pay attention.
Pay attention.
That's a fact. But because we've paid, we've paid attention. When it's free, you don't care. Yeah. Let's be honest. But more importantly, I did it as a JV model, where if I'm going to teach you, our incentives are aligned. That's it. So we're going to do the first 5 deals 50-50. That's how it used to be.
No, 5 deals. Good for you.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But I was teaching, I knew again, and that's the reaction I got from a lot of people, and I get it. And whenever guys are like, bro, it's like a lot. And I'm like, dude, look, the bill for inexperience is going to be far, far worse than me. And I did pick that up, and I got to give credit where credit's due from Ray, where you have to know your value and your self-worth in order to get it. Because no one's out here in the marketplace to just pay you.
Well, if you don't, others won't value you.
Correct. Well, yeah. And worse, you'll see, if you don't know your value, then the marketplace will set a value for you. I don't know about you, but it's never been a higher value than what I would place on myself.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So you have to be very careful with that. And I also knew my personality and that I was going to go 150%. So I'm like, dude, if I'm giving you all that, bro, like I know how I'm going to show up to play in the game.
Right.
I need to know that you're going to play the game the same. Right. And the only way that I could really dictate that is that way.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing was most people stayed for a year. That was not a year program, by the way. So we still JV on a lot of deals, and then they parlayed into this community.
I love it.
So I think that just shows like they're still learning, you know. The day that I can't, and I've always told everyone that I've coached, I'm like, the day you feel like you're not getting value from me anymore, don't split JVs with me anymore. Because I don't ever want to get something that I haven't earned. You know, if you actually feel that way,
oh man,
I respect it.
That's a whole other conversation, but yeah.
No, for real.
I love it. But a lot of people don't think that way. A lot of people are like, this is the agreement, this is what we're doing. But the fact that tells me how much you care about them and the fact that you want to deliver value.
Bro, a mentor should never hold you back. And there are like seasons where I've had mentors where I'm like, dude, this has been as far as I know that this is going to go. And that person's still kind of, no, but there's more. And I'm like, that's an awkward situation to be in. So if it's not there, let it, the goal of a good mentor is
you should want the person
you want to, it's like an empty nester. It's like, and now the kid is free and they're out there going to college or whatever it is that they're going to do.
No, I'm with you there.
You know?
So,
yeah. All right, man. Well, listen, I appreciate you coming by. I love it. I mean, this went in a lot of different directions.
It's been a fun conversation, man.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. That's what I love about these things is that you never quite know where it's going to go. And to me, it's kind of God guiding the hand of the conversation. And so I appreciate you having me on, man.
Yeah, dude. I love the fact that we both come from the same place. Where'd you grow up in Miami?
Westchester.
Westchester in the house, bro. 16th and 97.
He laughs.
You can't beat it. Right across from Core Park, dude.
Westchester, man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. What part of Westchester?
Right by Joe Hall.
Oh.
Yeah.
Can't beat it, bro.
Yeah, man.
Westchester, it's crazy. I flipped the house there a year ago, and I almost shit my pants. I was like, I can't believe what the values are.
Oh, brother.
It's bananas, dude.
When I look at our... I think I may have told you this. When I look at emails that we would send out from like 2011 through 13, like houses in like the heart of Westchester, we were wholesaling them for like between 95 and 120. What are those houses now? 800, 900?
Easy.
You know, it's like, but at the time, I needed that $10,000, $15,000 wholesale fee, bro. You know, but
talk about delaying gratification too. I was having this conversation with Terry yesterday, and I was like, man, if I look back at how many deals, and we all have this conversation, how many more I could have kept, but delaying gratification just a little bit more and foregoing that fee, which is discipline, which I'm now doing in my life, and I've decided to just put my foot down and be like, no, enough's enough. You know, at what point does that rule just get followed? because I can look back at my career since 2017. Dude, I stopped counting at like 10 million bucks in equity that I would extra net worth. I'm just like,
yeah, it doesn't. Why?
Yeah.
Why go through that mental exercise?
Because you know what? For me, dude, it shows the lesson and it's discipline for me to not make the same mistake again. Yeah. And I've seen it, dude. I've seen guys that went through 07, 08, and I've seen it done one way and then the other way. The guys that kept 100 something or whatever, dude, they're never the same, you know? And that's not even that much, right? Yeah. And then you look at the other guys and I know because I've woken up and I'm like, bro, I've transacted on 800, 700, whatever the hell the number is. And I'm like, I mean, it's great. We've made a lot of money. Yeah. But where is it?
What's the saying? Don't wait to buy real estate, buy real estate and wait.
That's one of those expressions, bro, that the cliche is so true.
Yeah.
And that's why I love hanging out with guys like you that have been through cycles, not the imaginary world we've been living in the last couple of years. Yeah. The first cycle I would say I went through was 2020, if you could call it that. But yeah, you actually learn perspective because everyone that's watching this right now, by the way, the last 5 years have not been a real market.
No, not at all. Like, not at all.
For a guy like you're like,
not at all.
Like 1 and 1 equals fish. It makes no sense, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, so I appreciate you coming by.
Thank you, man. This was a fun conversation, man. I hope people get a lot of it.
Yeah, if anybody wants to get a hold of you or like where can they follow you?
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. On the socials, but the Flip Empire Show, I'm actually going to be rebranding it. This is actually the first time I just recently did a post on it, but on a podcast where I'm sharing rebranding to Storage Wins. So it's going to be more focused on storage. But yeah, the Flip Empire Show, you can find it on the different platforms. And Instagram at Alex Pardo 25. I'm out there, man. But anything that anybody needs, like I'd love to just contribute, give back, point people in the right direction. So yeah, man.
I love it. One of the things I love the most about you is you're such a sweet soul. You really are. You're just such an open, vulnerable. You always text me. You're like, hey, brother, anything I can help you with, or hey, brother, anything.
I mean it, by the way.
No, I know, and because I get the text from other people, I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you need something, you know, and I know where it's coming from, but you're just such a giver, dude. You really are. Like a go-giver. That's the first thing that comes into my mind when I think of you. So I appreciate that.
That means a lot.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, man.
That's it.